Hello everybody, Anna Sabramwitz here, your interactive storytelling coach. How are you today? Listen, today we're going to talk about something quite important, which is when people begin projects and how they start from a blank page because they feel like every project demands novelty and some new creative ideas. And I'm all for creative ideas, but there's a way to do that without overwhelming yourself. Because let me tell you, I've been doing this for 10 years now, freelancing on my own, ran my own agency, and there's nothing worse than getting 3 of these kinds of creative projects in a month and going, how the heck am I going to mentally scale that, right? Because bespoke, right, sounds really, really sexy, but then bespoke as far as, producing bespoke kind of experiences for your clients, there's a strategy around that doesn't make you want to quit your job and go back to, something else that doesn't drive you creatively. So if that's interesting to you and you want to learn a little bit more about how to, offer really beautiful experiences and something that's still very creative to your clients without overwhelming yourself on the back end and, pulling all-nighters to try and finish a project, then stick around. This is for you. All right, so if you're visiting from someplace, you better say hello. I'd love to have you. Oh, here we go. Hey, hello, Treg. So wonderful to have you here. And here's Harish. Hi, how are you? I'm doing great. Thanks so much for stopping by, you guys, and saying hello. Totally makes my day. All right, so when I first started freelancing, and a lot of people ask me, they're like, Anna, how did you get started? Because a lot of people are transitioning right now from, one role to another. They've been in the corporate world, maybe, or academic world for a while, and now they want to go off on their own. And I'm not gonna get into all the details of the things that I share, because and I talked about it yesterday, when you go solo or with a partner, you guys, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of things you have to learn. And then the other thing that really drove me to become independent is that I thought, hey, finally I get to do the kind of work that I get to be proud of. Finally, I'm going to be the boss of my creative endeavors, and I'm going to produce the kind of work that people actually look forward to going through. And that backfired a little bit, because what happened is when I started working on creative projects, I really thought that everything would kind of be designed out of the box. Everything would be just very, very progressive, very, cutting edge. And that's cool. But one of the things I realized quickly is that doesn't scale, especially for a 2-person development shop, right? And even with a team of people, and I regularly work, because one of the things that I love working with is, voiceover actors. I love working with illustrators. And one of the things that I found is that even with a team of people supporting me, to be able to take on more creative projects where I'm starting from scratch every time is not something that I enjoyed, because it would add, every time I got a new project requisition and I showed them the potential of my portfolio, what I could do, I would get this kind of dread feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I don't know if you guys ever felt this, but you don't know what that client's going to come back with or want, and you don't know if you'll be able to deliver on time, and it just makes you kind of go a little nauseous, right? You're like, oh my God, what's this going to be? And that might, for some people, they'd be like, I've never experienced that, but if you have, I'm with you. I understand it. You're not alone. Seriously. So there's a lot of pressure on you to deliver, but also you have to be able to scale these projects, because you want to, not work for, $2 an hour because you didn't budget your time right. And guess what? I have worked on projects where I'm like, my God, if I actually calculated the real time that I spent on this, I'm making so little money here. I can't even support myself and my family, right? So you don't want to be in that position. And then the other thing that I want you to consider is that, when you look at some of the most engaging experiences out there, maybe the outside, the look and the feel and the context looks different, but the mechanics underneath are pretty much the same. And so one of the things I figured out pretty quickly is that those mechanics are actually my friend, and they don't make the work less creative. They actually help me to be more creative, because I stress less about all of the elements, and I can focus my energy and the time that I'm spending on the pieces that matter the most. And in an interactive story, is there's a beautiful storytelling framework underneath. There's a beautiful engagement framework underneath. And the things that where I get to be creative is talk to people to pull out their stories so I can craft meaningful experiences that they plug into that framework. And so what I'm telling you right now is what you should do is have a framework that you're delivering every time. So if somebody wants an interactive story, you're not going, I'm just going to make this stuff up, because that's silly. You actually, what you should do is model what already works. And I believe in that 1000%. If there's 1000%, I believe in it. So you're not going out there going, oh, I'm just going to, reinvent the wheel and be super creative, because if everything in your project is up for discussion, you will be delayed. I've been in those projects. So what you want to do is find a piece that already works and say, this is what we're going for. And there's tons of examples out there. I share them all the time. One of the best examples for interactive stories, I got to tell you, is Broken Coworker. And what you're supposed to do is basically say, hey, underneath this, jazzy stuff, this video, these decisions, all this stuff, there's a framework underneath it, and I can leverage that framework and use it again and again and again. And I've done this with my clients. So the big deal is you don't have to invent what you, even if you want to be creative, to even create bespoke services or bespoke experiences for your clients. It's really the context that adds that bespokeness, if that's a word. It's not the fact that there's a framework underneath that actually works to produce a consistent experience. And in fact, people enjoy consistent experiences because the goal of your interactive story is not for people to be have novelty around every single piece that's actually, every single page that's being delivered to them, because that's actually pretty frustrating for a user. One of the things that's really important is for people to actually feel like the user experience actually falls away. They're no longer thinking about how to do something. They're thinking about the decisions that they're making. Oh, and we've got Michael here and Lauren and Luke. Awesome. All right, cool. So I thought, hey, I'm an interactive storytelling coach, and I thought this is something that I've struggled with myself, right? I wanted to have somebody who wanted to be my client to have all the options available to them. And then I realized that bit me in the butt because I offered them too much. I didn't specialize, and also I didn't have frameworks for each of these pieces that I could just pull off the shelf and say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and I'm ready with it. And as a professional, I've developed this framework for myself, and now I share it with my students, right? One framework that I wanted to show you, and I think people just overcomplicate this, and also I think that if you stick to this, 99% of the engaging scenario experiences for you will be done. Now you just have to go out and source the great context and stories. The string of pearls, right? So basically, pop, you guys see it the right way? Let me know. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's kind of small. Anyways, all right. So I'm going to walk through it. This is for a scenario question, all right? And the scenario question, if you look at something like an engaging interactive story, which is basically a choose your own adventure, trying to get you from one type of mindset to a different kind of mindset, a story that helps you realize your gaps, all those kinds of things. That's what, this is a single interaction. And you can take this, I'll walk through it, the single interaction, string it together, that's hence the name String of Pearls, and actually have somebody have a very enjoyable, very powerful experience without you going, how can I create a new screen with new ways of sharing content? Because I believe that content sharing is not learning, right? I believe that when people engage with the information in a meaningful way, which means that they're making decisions about how to use that information, that's when you're actually starting to help them learn. If you're just giving them quizzes about what the content was about, they're not really learning, they're just remembering things for that moment. But to make a decision that is real, affects real life outcomes, and they can see the consequences, that's when people learn, right? People learn through making decisions and seeing the consequences of those actions. And that's what scenario questions do for you. So this framework, if you follow this, do not deviate from this. This works 1000%. I know, because I've done hundreds and hundreds of these kinds of questions and incorporated them, wrapped them up in a story. Okay. So you have a scenario, which is the setup. You have a decision that basically the character has to make based on, what just happened. Then they have choices. And then they have the consequence. Now, a lot of people will mess this up. This is how they'll mess this up. They're like, how about we just give them some feedback here? Like, that was great. Or here's some info. Or what they do, they give you a whole bunch of info up front, up here, and then they're like, okay, now you get to make a decision after you've learned all this stuff. No, that's not how you learn. So how we learn is, here's a situation. Now, what should you do? What should you do? Here's some options. Here's what happened as a result of those options. Then later, if you want to provide some info and feedback, you can do that. But the consequence is where most people mess up. And they'll start giving feedback instead of saying, here's what happened as a result. And the thing is that if you touch your hand to a hot stove and you don't get the burn, but somebody comes up and says, hey, that would have hurt you, that's not a lesson. And we're robbing people of that lesson. So if you want to have these lessons buried inside or embedded inside your learning experiences, this is it. This is a framework, this is a model, don't deviate from this. So next time somebody says, hey, I want a scenario, boom, you got the framework. It's done. And this is your little product. And you can say, okay, I'm gonna pull this off the shelf, this is what we do. And now you're just working to fill in these pieces. And this is the beauty of working with software you're comfortable with. You build a template once, the next time all you have to do is think about the pieces that you're adding in here. You're no longer worried about how this is gonna work because the user experience is already, working. So you take an old project, create a template out for yourself, and reuse it again. Nobody is going to care about whether you have used this before. What they're going to care about is, does it solve their problem? And does it help people have ahas about the content that you're trying to share? Are the consequences meaningful? Are the decisions compelling? Do they actually make sense, right? Are these scenarios valid? A lot of times people are like, oh, I have trouble coming up with scenarios. I'm like, yeah, because you're not a practitioner. So talk to people who are living in that world and talk to them about what decisions they need to make and how come these decisions are difficult, right? But model what's already working. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of great examples out there, and have no shame with, like, people always ask me, they're like, Anna, my students ask me, they're like, Anna, I want to show people Broken Coworker because that's the kind of work I want to do. Is that okay? Go for it. I don't care. My goal is to have everybody be super comfortable crafting interactive stories, because as far as I'm concerned, stories were designed to help us learn and transmit information. And for some freaking weird reason, the entertainment industry has taken that away from us, and we think that now we're taking something from them. Storytelling's ours, right? Storytelling is learning and development. This is our domain, and we need to take it back and incorporate it into everything we do, because storytelling is about emotions, and people don't do anything if they're not emotionally invested. So we need to leverage that, or we're screwed, because we're putting out a bunch of dry content that nobody cares about, and that doesn't move people to action. But I see people take action after they see a movie, which is crazy. So let's take this back, okay? This is ours, we're gonna own it. So now, if you want to learn about how to craft interactive stories and craft your own frameworks and have a system that you're then delivering to either people in your organization or as a freelancer offering this as a product, I would love to talk to you. I'm running a coaching program. We're looking for 6 more people to join us by the end of this month. If that's you, if you're serious and you want to take yourself to the next level, I'm totally excited to talk to you. I'll put the link underneath the video so that you can see my calendar. It has some questions about, where you want to take yourself, where you've been, to see if I can actually help you, because some people I can't, and I'll tell you straight up. The other thing is that, a lot of people go, they'll model something, but one of the things that they'd like is they're not sure about whether their starting these things in the right way. And what I found is that sometimes people will look at something like an interactive story and they go straight into the software. They're like, this is where my comfort zone is, right? So they'll jump right in there. And I'll talk to those people and they'll be like, I've put together like 4 or 5 projects, but there's something missing. Like, it looks good, but the story sucks, right? Or it looks good, but my scenarios don't actually, like, people are like, yeah, those are the things that I really want to talk to you about, because I feel the software piece is kind of easy, to be honest with you. Once you've set up a template, like, it's not rocket science. This isn't complicated. Software should be the least of our problems here. That's why I'm always like, who cares what you're using? You can make an interactive story in PowerPoint. It will work. Will it be the best experience? There's others that could be better, right? But either way, if your story is compelling, it will work. It will work. But you need to know the structure, and you need to have the questions that you need to ask to actually get somebody to tell you the kinds of stories that will make a compelling interactive story. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you're crafting an interactive story to showcase your portfolio, that's awesome. I love that. And I'm sharing one right now that one of our students, Kimberly, just put together. But you can probably do that once or twice, leveraging your own expertise. But to craft things for other people consistently, you have to talk to practitioners. And I have a whole system on how to do that, and how to do that in a way that doesn't take up 3 hours of their time, several times a week. Anyways, if that sounds like something you want to get into, you want some help, you want some coaching with that, I'd love to talk to you. So if you want to learn more about interactive storytelling, also go to elearningsecrets.com. There you can watch some on-demand free training. Also, you sign up for my list, because what's happening is I'm also running some live sessions later this August. Still haven't decided. I thought I decided, but I haven't, on when the date's going to be. So you'll be notified, the first to know about those live sessions, so you can ask your contextual questions during those sessions to see how this fits for you. Because that's one of the things that usually people want to know is, I get it, this sounds powerful, but my workplace is not emotional. How do I get them to connect, right? I'd love to see you at the webinar. All right, so I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of the day. I gotta go because I got strategy sessions to get to, but I hope this was helpful, and if it was, let me know. And I'm so grateful to have you here, because I know that you could be spending your time doing a million other things, but you decided to jump on and learn a little bit more about how we can take interactive storytelling back to L&D. All right, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thanks for being here.